It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years experience. Here is Alex Guthrie.
Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. We're coming to you from our secret studio deep in the heart of Texas. Welcome to the show, everybody. We are going to have a fantastic show today. I've got two very interesting people. We're going to talk with Thomas Edds from Edds Solar and Lloyd L.Lumpkins with L.Lumpkins Architects. We are going to talk about solar and we're going to talk about architecture. That's the show today. But first, as always, we're going to have our remodeler's tip. Should you hire a design professional when you're planning your kitchen remodel? Now, this has come up with me recently, and a lot of these tips that I do for you are things that I'm dealing with at the moment. And so this has come up with me about 2 or 3 times in the last month when I'm visiting with homeowners that are considering doing smaller projects, like maybe a master bath or kitchen remodel. And I think it is important that we have this conversation. And I would always say, yes, you need a design professional for certain things. For instance, if you're redesigning your kitchen, and particularly if you're adding new appliances or moving any type of plumbing or electrical, you definitely need a design professional to come in and lay those things out. It's very important because you don't want people getting in there and guessing where the water line goes or the electrical goes or the gas line goes. Believe me, it happens all the time. People just try to wing it, and then they find out something is done wrong or placed improperly. Also, when you're putting in appliances, your cabinets need to be a certain size to accommodate the appliances that you're buying. It's critical that all of that is designed in when you start, so you're not having to change the size of the cabinet openings. It happens constantly. We'll probably talk to Lloyd a little bit about this in a little later in the show. But these are important things. And also, I wanted to just touch on one other thing real quick. Today's tip is going to be kind of short because we've got a lot to talk about during the show. The other thing I want to tell homeowners is when you're calling in a bunch of professionals to come in and give you quotes and estimates on projects that you're thinking about doing in your home, you need to be prepared when they get there with 2 things. You need to have either a plan or a list, or preferably both. But you also need to prepare them if you're not ready to start that project immediately. I keep going in and looking at projects, and people are telling me, well, we're not going to do this until next year or next spring or something. I've got to tell you that pricing is changing now every 60 to 90 days. Nothing is staying the same. And particularly with sort of the volatility in our world right now, I'm not saying don't get it, just tell people that going in, because it's going to affect the way you set your budget, and you want your budget to be accurate. So that's our remodeler's tip of the day. And call me if you have any questions, or text me or email me if you have any comments or any experiences you want to share. We'll share them on the show. Our first guest today, Thomas Edds, is the owner of Edds Solar. And Thomas has a 20-year history in solar, and we decided that, and I know I've had solar shows before, but it's changing rapidly. The laws are changing, codes, particularly, of course, everybody knows about California. I've talked about it plenty. And as California goes, the rest of the country goes eventually. And so I thought it would be interesting to have a conversation with Thomas about that. And also, we're going to talk a lot about the internet and how it's affecting the solar industry and what people are doing kind of wrong when it comes to that. Thomas's company has installed over 60,000 solar panels. They are commercial and residential. He's been in business about 20 years. And welcome.
Welcome.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Yeah. So the solar industry has been in sort of a massive change in really the last probably 10 years. I mean, it's gone from this big push, and then it sort of I don't know if it went away or the tax credits went away, but everything changed in it for a few years. And now it seems like it's coming back for various reasons. What's the story behind all that?
Well, everything had always driven about money. Back 20 years ago when I first got into the wind and solar, it was kind of a homegrown situation. I'd say I'm 60 plus, so the old hippie movement and tree huggers, they
Our high school friends.
Right, yeah, where we grew up. But that kind of started the whole green thing, and everybody wanted to be the green, and then they realized, well, I don't have to pay my electricity bill if I get solar, and that's some of the fight that we have right now is you don't really pay for your electricity bill and your solar, so you're not adding a bill. You're just paying for one or the other. You're taking the money away from one bill and putting it back in another.
Okay, so when you're doing or considering solar, then you have things that you need to consider to decide whether or not this is right for you, right?
Right.
And one of the things is your budget, because there's a big investment in installing solar in your home. What is the rate of return? What is the ROI or the return on investment in solar? So if I go in and I spend a bunch of money putting solar panels up, I know I'm going to save a lot of money on electricity, on my electric bill, I should say. About how long, is there an average or a way to judge that?
Well, it all depends on us inside the city limits of Dallas and the Metroplex area. We pay a normal rate. If you're out in the country or rural Texas or America, you're paying a lot more. So the ROI will be much faster for those kind of guys. But it's really the ROI, if you're just considering what you paid for the solar, and if you don't have any incentives whatsoever, it's about 13 to 14 years.
13 to 14 years.
But you're paying that, you're not actually paying your electricity bill.
Or you're paying less.
Right.
I mean, you're still going to have an electric bill.
My electricity bill is somewhere between $7 and $17 a month.
Wow.
So
Are you selling it to your neighbors?
No, I'm in the city of Garland. We have our own power company, so I.
It sounds like you are the neighborhood power company.
Yeah, but there are programs out there that you can actually bank what you've overproduced 9 months of the year. So in the summer and the hot parts of your electricity bill, we don't really usually build a system to do 100% year-round.
But if you had a system that matched your intake of electricity and exceeded it, you're saying that extra electricity in some communities or some towns can go back and you can bank that into like a savings account.
Yeah, it's kind of like a savings account. So it'll pay for the months that you didn't produce enough. Green Mountain, Reliant, TXU, they have programs that'll do that. Green Mountain's kind of like the inventor of that and the big guy.
So all of this depends on how many panels you put in and how big of a solar system that you put in, correct?
Correct.
And so sometimes you will design a system going into a residence for a specific reason. Like you might want a hot water heater, or you might want certain things. Let's say I can't afford 18 panels on my roof, or I can't get them there or whatever. And then are there any kind of rules, or is it the cost to switch things over? Is it just too difficult? How would you work something like that out?
Well, the smaller the system is, the more costly per watt it is. So people think, well, that's just so expensive, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. That's so expensive, I can't afford that. But in actuality, we can finance it to where it's costing you the same amount of whatever you were paying the electricity company you're not going to pay them. Just take the same amount of money and put it over into your own solar, so you're buying your own power. It costs you, if you get all the incentives, the tax breaks and everything, you can get it down to about 9 years.
Wow.
And after 9 years, then you don't have electricity bill for the rest of your life.
Wow. That's making some people at TXU happy.
Yeah, I know. We fight that a lot.
Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. And so one of the things that would go into making this a solar system work would be having an energy efficient home.
Correct. Yeah, we always advise everybody do things like LED lighting, new appliances, new air conditioning system, and get that as efficient as we can. And then when we do the solar, you don't have to have as big a system.
So you're making sort of an energy investment into your home when you do this. So you go in and you maybe you put in radiant barrier, maybe you add, normal things. Put in radiant barrier, add insulation, put in good windows, change your lights over to LED, add solar.
Yep.
It's a big investment.
It's a huge investment, and we know it's an investment. It's a 25-year warranted product, so it is just a great investment. Like I said, I've installed over 60,000 solar panels, and I've replaced 3. That's it.
Let's talk about federal tax credits.
Okay.
How does that work, or does it work, or do they go away so fast you can't get your hands on them?
Well, the federal tax credit up to the end of this year is 30%, where you actually, if you owe the government, just for round numbers, say if you owe the government $10,000 this year in your taxes, and you have up to 2 years to take it out, you don't have to pay that 10%. Or that $10,000. There's a form that you can fill out that you added solar, and it's 30% of whatever you paid for.
Comes off your tax bill.
Yeah, it just comes off your tax bill. You don't have to pay that part.
So you're just basically investing in your own. You're
Right.
investing in your own home.
Especially if you're a businessman, you always have tax credits.
Yeah, hold
If you kind of fudged your takeout all year
What?
long.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa! Easy. Hi, big brother. No, that's cool. Now I understand that, and usually there's a fixed amount of money that they'll allocate for federal tax credits, and so you got to get in there pretty quick. But you have to make that decision and make that commitment to be able to get because they used to. Now I may be thinking of energy credits in the state. I get it all confused as everybody's got something. But there's usually a finite amount of dollars that they're willing to put towards those energy tax credits, correct?
Right. Yeah, and after this year, it goes down to 26%.
Wow.
So-
wow. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of other things that we need to cover in our short time we have together. How is one of the questions that I have from people is, we live in Tornado Alley. We know what hail is. I mean, we really know what hail is. How does that affect a solar panel?
I have never replaced a solar panel from hail breaking the glass.
Really?
Out of 60,000 solar panels, I'm 210. My helpers are 240, 250, and we sing and dance on them all.
What are you hiring all them little guys for?
We have them on top of all our
You
trucks.
need to start feeding them
and
off the
trailers.
roach truck.
Yeah. One of the first, it's been about 6-8 years ago, they had a big tornado came through Arlington over there off of 20, and we had just finished a house, and we put the solar panels over, it just happened by design. It was over their son's bedroom and the master bedroom. And a week later, that tornado came through, and I saw the newscast the next morning. They were filming the house across the street that was a 2-story that most of it was gone. So I called him up and asked him, and I said, what does my solar panels look like?
Yeah, where are they?
They had 16 inches of hailstones on the ground, and the tornado came right over their house. He said over the bedroom and the master bedroom and the son's bedroom, not a single shingle was missing. But over the dining room, living room, and garage, the roof, the shingles, the decking.
So the
joists
solar panels protected the roof?
Well, because we actually penetrate through the decking into the joist with an 8-inch auger screw.
Ah, so it's not just, okay.
So it's actually.
It's like having an extra roof over
Yeah,
it.
well, it's kind of like an umbrella about 6 inches off your roof to give you a shadow anyway. So
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So so let's talk a little bit about, again, a little more detail about how do you attach this to the roof. So you have a bracket.
Yes, there is an 8-inch auger screw that will go through the decking into the joist. We have to penetrate the joist. Then there's a flashing, just like your plumbing
Like your
flashings.
plumbing, yeah.
Yeah. So that goes over that, and then the bracket will attach to that. So then we put our railing and all that.
So
stuff
you
on
have
top.
like brackets spaced apart, and then you have a rail that goes perpendicular to that, and that's what the panel's attached to, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the systems have a railing system on it. There are rackless systems. They're needing some improvements. But,
Yeah, okay.
But for the general standard, there's rails and all that stuff.
So
for
they're
this
not
to
just
attach.
bolting them down to the plywood is the point. It's really secure. It's real structural.
Well, it depends on your electrical or your solar contractor.
Well, yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have more with Thomas Edds. Don't go away. We'll be right back. The hardest working and arguably most important system in our homes is our air conditioning and heating system. It heats the air, it cools the air, and it filters the air. That's why it's so critical to have it checked and maintained by the very best professionals available. It's time to contact Total Air and Heat at totalair.com. Get that system pruned and tuned. If you want to have the very best experience, you've got to hire the very best company. Total Air's employees are honest, well-trained, and thoroughly background checked. I never have to worry about sending their technicians out to my clients' homes. Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Total Air and Heat has been a fixture in North Dallas for over 60 years. Total Air is a proud dealer of the Trane air conditioning systems, and you know how hard it is to stop a train, so give them a call at 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020, or contact them at totalair.com today. Welcome back to Remodel Revolution. I'm here with Thomas Edds with Edds Solar. We're talking about we've covered so much so fast. I was out of breath. I needed that break. One of the things that is affecting all of our businesses in construction, and really probably everybody's business, is the internet. And one of the most difficult things about the internet is that everybody has become an expert. And because they go on YouTube and they go on Google or wherever, whatever your favorite place is, and they research, and that's great. We love having informed consumers. But there's no shortcut when it comes to getting a professional to do these projects for you. What has been your biggest problem with the internet and the solar industry?
Well, everybody thinks that they can buy the product cheaper on the internet than I can, and then they call us to install it. And we do work with that kind of thing. But then there's all these big national companies that are selling solar over the internet, and all they do is collect money. The homeowners never shake anybody's hand. You're buying a major investment, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and the first person that they see is me, the installer, to come out there and put it on. Well, the average solar company is in business somewhere between 1.5 to 3 years. You're buying a 25-year warranted product. So in 1.5 to 3 years, when you have a problem with it, and it's not very likely. I mean, we have probably less than a 1% warranty rate on this kind of stuff because there's no moving parts. But we do. It's a man-made electrical thing, and so when they try to get a hold of their contractor or their sales team, that company is no longer in business. So then they find me and say, hey, I bought this 25-year warranted product. Can you come out and warranty it? Well, the manufacturers of most of this equipment, they know us because of our longevity and good name in the trade, that they'll recommend calling us if they didn't find somebody. And we can usually get the product itself warranted. But of course, I didn't make the sale and I didn't make the markup, so I do have to charge the labor to come out.
Well, this is a problem that we keep addressing on this show with various trades. It's happening in the plumbing trade. It's happening in the electrical. People are buying things off the internet. I've had 2 or 3 projects recently this year that people were buying things off eBay. I got the best deal on eBay. Yeah, but you got you only got half of what you ordered. You don't even know where it came from. And so, and then they want you to, someone's got to service it. So they call us to service it. Well, here's the problem with that. The people that I call to service it, they get paid.
Yeah.
And they don't get paid from the warranty because you bought it. It's your problem. So this is now it's one thing if it's a kitchen sink or a faucet. But when you've got a $30,000 or $40,000 investment on top of your house, that could get costly.
Yeah, because solar is a DC product. The average.
What does that mean?
Well, it's direct current. It's produced. The sun produces direct current. It goes through an inverter to invert it back into AC. Where
so an inverter is like a piece of equipment that's on the wall next to the electric panel or somewhere, right?
Yeah, next to the meter. It's supposed to be within about 6 foot of the.
It makes
meter.
the electricity it produces usable.
Yeah, it makes it usable so you can use it in your house. They are so smart. It has more power than the power company. That's why it will actually push the unused portion and turn your meter backwards.
Well, I have a friend that built the first zero energy or net zero energy house in North Texas, and they went out there one day, and the electric company was out there pulling the meter off and checking it. This was around 2000. It was hilarious. They didn't savvy, but they did afterwards.
Yeah.
So the point I'm making, it is possible to make that happen, and it's becoming a lot more frequent and common because we're actually getting better at building. That part of home building has gotten really improved. It's really improved. So you have a tour coming up.
Yes, the National Solar Tour, and there is a DFW Solar Tour also, but it's all kind of connected. The National Solar Tour, it's a ASUS American Solar Energy Society puts this on every year. It's a solar tour that you can sign up from a website, and I'll give the website in a minute, but you can sign up or even just show up. There's a list of homes and businesses in the DFW area that you can come out and actually look and see what it really is doing. And I can show you on my cell phone what my system is working, what it's actually producing, and what I'm using in the house. But it's an educational thing, and so you can come out and touchy-feely, dog and pony show.
Climb up on the roof?
Yeah, well, I can.
I'm kidding. Don't climb up on the roof.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things that it's an educational thing to get everybody more aware of what it's actually capable.
I have a question because there used to be some resistance, and there still may be, with like HOAs.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see those things on people's roofs.
Yeah, I'm going through that right now with South Lake. But in the state of Texas, it is a law that a HOA cannot refuse you to put solar on your house.
But they can make it really difficult.
They can make it really difficult. Yeah, we're a year and 6 months right now at South Lake.
Really?
The city.
One house?
Yeah, on one house. Yeah,
Really?
because the house faces a street behind them, and they don't want the people that's driving by that house to
look at that ugly old solar
you look
panel.
at that ugly old solar
Actually, I think they'll think that they'll just get jealous.
I know. That's what I said. They're jealous of people that have solar because they're poor people. They must not be able to pay the electricity.
Yeah, hey, man, I'm on board with that, baby. So you have now developments that are actually net zero developments, and there's a couple around Dallas. Have you worked in any of those?
Yes. Man, I can't.
Well, that's
think of it off
okay.
the top of my head.
Are these becoming more common? Are you
it
seeing
is.
more of them?
You're trying to get more where whatever utilities you need, water and electricity and all that stuff, is actually being produced and consumed on that piece of property instead of relying on our infrastructure.
This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming in and spending the morning with us. How do people get in touch with you?
Well, my personal company, Electric Distribution Design Systems, is edds.com, edssolar.com, or the
That's right.
the National Solar Tour is the American Solar Energy Society, and I have a sign here.
Oh, he's got the sign.
Yeah, but their site is www.nationalsolartour.org
Let's
/
push this together.
open-
There, now we can see it. There we go.
open houses 470.
I like that homemade sign.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Very innovative. Well, we really appreciate it and hope to talk to you again soon. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have Lloyd Lumpkins, the architect of the century. Sometimes it's a question of do I call or don't I call the foundation repair company? Well, what if I tell you that I know a foundation repair company that will tell you if you don't need foundation repair? That's right. Hargrave and Hargrave Foundation Repair has been in business for over 50 years, and they know the difference. One of the last family-owned foundation repair businesses in North Texas. Not only are they honest, they know what causes your foundation to move, and they know how to fix it. Don't be duped by fly-by-night foundation companies that provide shortcuts and messy fixes. Call Hargrave and Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415. At the first sign of trouble, Hargrave uses the Chance helical pier system exclusively because it's the highest quality, most reliable helical pier money can buy. 972-442-3415 or contact them at hargravefoundation.com. Welcome back. I've got this old friend of mine that is a really amazing architect. He designs mansions. I mean, we're real mansions. He's never asked me to build any of them because, well, you know, he is who he is and I am who I am. Meet my friend Lloyd L.Lumpkins Architects. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thank you.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you could get here today. Some people just do regular designs. You know, some architects just do regular architect stuff, but this guy does magnificent estates. He does. How big of a project have you designed?
Right now, I'm working on a 27,000 square foot house.
27,000 feet. Is that a football stadium?
No, it's a little bit smaller.
A little smaller than a football stadium. Okay.
But there's room to throw the ball.
Yeah. You can put a big enough living room in there, can't you?
Absolutely.
Well, you've been doing this a couple of years.
Moved back to Dallas. I grew up in East Texas. Moved back to Dallas in the mid-'90s. Worked for a great firm here in Dallas and huge mentor for me, and started my own firm in 2007.
And you've done pretty well. You're doing
trying.
pretty good. You're doing really
paddling.
good. You're paddling. Yeah, I know that feeling. But you have a very distinctive style of home that you design. And when I went on and I looked at your projects, Matt's going to pop those up here for us. When we looked at your projects, you have a lot of distinct qualities, and you have a lot of versatility as well. We can see a Mediterranean, we can see a modern. I don't know if there's any such thing as traditional anymore, is there?
No, there's not. there's current.
There's current is kind of what just kind of whatever strikes your fancy.
pretty much. But, you know, I think what's important and what I try to do is use the classical influences that I was educated with, some of the basics, and apply those to whatever facade, whatever style that the client wants.
So I assume that your client comes to you, a lot of these, because a lot of these houses are similar and have similar roofs and things like that. I'm assuming that some of your clients, or maybe all of them, come to you with a specific design that you do that they've seen. Is that correct?
It varies. I would say on the most part, that's correct, that they want, I'm known for my classical architecture that I do, the homes that I do, you know, from French Renaissance to Italian Renaissance to English Tudors. But I also do modern, and I've had more and more clients ask me to do that.
It seems like that's been a trend the last, I don't know, 8, 9 years, 10 years. The modern, I guess we call it is transitional the outside or just the inside?
Oh, it's both. It's both. You know, it's real important when you're designing a house that the inside and the outside match. There's not two totally different styles. So.
Well, I know. I remodel them and I try to make them totally different. I wanted to talk to you about, because I know that the type of people you deal with are very successful people because of the type of homes that they're building. What are some of the things that if I was going to build a home and I wanted to interview an architect and find the right person, what am I looking for as the homeowner, or what do your clients feel most comfortable with about you think?
Well, there's several things to do, and you know, one of the things I tell people up front is ask them if they're an architect. You know, a lot of times,
like a licensed
architect. A lot of times, you know, you get people say, "Oh, this architect's great," and you look him up, and he's not really an architect; he's a designer, and they don't have the education and background that we bring to the table. But in that, it's really a comfort level. You've got to trust who you hire. You've got to feel comfortable that they're working for you and have your back. So, you know, that's what I tried to express to clients, that's what I'm there for. I'm there to watch their backs. I'm there to make sure that they get the best that they can get.
How involved, in your opinion, should an architect be in the construction phase of it? I mean, do you go out and visit your job sites all week and make sure that things are being done the way you designed it?
It rarely is an all week, but usually I'll get out there, you know, every other week. That I'll get out to the job sites. It's included in what I do. It's important to be there and work with the builders. It's a team process. And to make sure that everybody understands what the client wanted and what was drawn on the plans so that it gets executed properly.
Right. Well, because builders can interpret things differently.
Correct.
Right? And these are intricate homes. They're intricate buildings. It's not just building some walls and putting something on the outside and sticking a roof on it. There's a whole lot more to it than that.
A whole lot more.
Because of your fine designs that you do, the type of trim that you use, all of the elements that have to go together to get that final product what it needs to be. It's really important that your architect be part of that process. Now, I'm saying this from experience because I've had over the years many projects I've done where I never saw the architect, or we would call the architect for 3 weeks before we'd get an answer. And it's hugely disruptive and a problem, because then you have the builder or his people making their own decisions. Architects don't like that.
Well, I mean, sometimes framers and builders, they make great decisions as well. So.
Right. I'm totally on board with that. I get that. But when you're doing these intricate, big homes, it's important that the entire team's communicating.
Yes.
It's not just how you affect where a window's going or where a door's going. You've got a designer involved. You've got finished people involved. There's all kinds of phases of building a house that's all got to come together right to make that work, particularly when you're on a really big house.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I would say it's true on any size house.
Well, That's true. That's true. But in my mind, I go from your kind of house to a production house where everything's just kind of thrown up.
Well, we do those as well. I'm working on one right now that's 2,500 square feet.
Really? That's awesome. I didn't know that.
And the same things apply.
What is your ideal client?
My ideal client
Don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, I know. That's really,
That's one of those I got you questions.
it's a client that understands what I do and lets me do it. Lets me help them understand what they want and then help them get it. So,
And pays you.
well, that's I've been extremely blessed that I get to do my hobby for a living. So that's a bonus.
Did you always know you wanted to be an architect?
I did not discover architecture until my first year of college.
Is that right?
So
Wow. And how did that happen?
I was off to become a mechanical engineer and went, this is boring, and took a survey course on architecture and went, I found it. This is what
That's
I want to
awesome. That's awesome. So you found your creative part of your
do. Correct.
personality. How important or what consists of the design team for you as an architect? So by design team, I always talk about a homeowner, a designer, an architect, builder. But there's more to it than that. There's one I left out that's super important on these bigger homes, and that's the landscape. Let's talk a little bit about, so you're building a large home, you're building it on a large lot, theoretically. You've got to have that final element of landscaping work right to make your house have the balance. One of the things that I've talked about for years and years, I live in a neighborhood that was built in the 60s, and they're smaller homes, with every one of them's unique. It's really one of those neighborhoods where, it looks like kind of production homes of the time, but they're still good quality, and there's all different kinds of architecture, and it's really fun. But one of the things that in the older, particularly up until we started kind of building really big houses on small lots, there was a balance between the building and the lot. And I find it super, super important when you're doing a successful conclusion. When you stand back on the street, you look at the house, does it fit the lot? Does it bother you when they put a giant house on a lot designed to take a house half its size?
It does. A lot of times that's the economics, though, of the property.
Right.
That you have to do that. So it becomes more difficult to try to get a balance when you have that situation. But, when we're designing a home with a client, we're designing the whole property. A landscape architect is critically important, but typically when we're doing conceptual design, we are scoping out the thought process for the entire property. Where does the pool go? Where do the entertainment yards go? We look at rooms on the landscaping as well. That you create these exterior rooms in the landscape. So we game plan it. We think it through of globally what we want to happen, what we want to see out of windows, and how we want to interact with the exterior. But then as soon as we get conceptual design, I recommend bringing a landscape architect in.
I mean, it is critical to all of this. And we have gotten now to where we like all of these big, large, open floor plans. And to go with that, we're going to have big window walls, and we're going to have maybe outdoor kitchen or whatever outside of that. And that stuff all can be, you can so improve the inside by planning for the outside.
That's correct.
And yet I have people constantly they're oblivious to it. They're like, well, let's just stick these doors in here. And I go, well, you're looking at your pool equipment.
Well, a great example is we're working on a home right now up in McKinney that we knew where we wanted trees to be planted. So even before we start construction, we're starting a tree planting program on the periphery of the property so that they are more mature when the house gets finished.
That's amazing. And of course, nowadays you can buy a fully mature tree and put out there if you got the money for it.
If you got the money.
And now water features have become, I've noticed more people building houses around pools where they'll actually, I have a friend that is building a house right now for some people. They had to put the pool in first and then build a house around it. It was a problem, engineering wise, it was a huge challenge for them. Are you doing a lot of stuff like that? I mean, these big houses, they want big pools.
Big pools. I am. I've got one. In fact, it's going to be in the upcoming fall issue of Modern Luxury Dallas, a home that we did the pool in the back that we have corner opening windows from the breakfast family room area that you open up the doors and sit down and put your feet in the pool. So it's
I love
right
it.
up
I
next
love
to
it.
the house.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. I love it. It's like having the bathtub in the living room.
That's right.
What is a mistake that homeowners make that you see when they're looking for an architect, or whether they've decided they don't want, we don't need one, our builder told us he could do it?
I think the mistake that they make is getting somebody that's part of a team. I mean, a lot of times when that situation happens that you're talking about, it's not really a team. The builder is kind of running the whole show on it. Mm-hmm. And so that's, I think, is the biggest mistake that I see people make, is that understanding of how much architects bring to the table and how much we are a proponent for them to help them understand all the things that they don't understand about this process.
Well, and you know what question one ought to be, folks, if you're thinking about whether or not, and like Lloyd was saying, an architect needs to be licensed, ask him if he can stamp the plans. Can you stamp the plans? If he can't stamp the plans, he's not an architect. And if you don't have stamped plans, that's where they stamp it and they sign it, then good luck getting a building permit.
That's true.
And, space planning, cabinet planning, all these little details. These are some, like we were talking earlier in our builder's tip. What are your thoughts on all that?
It gets tough at times to afford an architect on some of the smaller projects. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely critical, I think, to have a designer at least consult, maybe not do drawings, but at least consult to point out opportunities. I mean, that's what, it's our creativity you're hiring. And so rather than pointing out limitations, we want to point out opportunities.
Right.
And let you know, well, that's a great idea, but if you thought about where the sunlight's coming in, if you change this window in your kitchen, suddenly you're going to be...
Maybe you don't need an island the size of a bowling alley.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I guess some people want to do surgery in the kitchen. I haven't figured it out yet, but some of them are pretty crazy. The design team needs to also be able to communicate. When you have all this group of people, and they're all creative, they have definitely they're all kind of very focused type people. They're kind of type A personalities mostly. Mm-hmm. And you have to be, and it all usually comes back at the end of the day to the owner. That's who's paying everybody. But you've got to have a design team that can actually communicate. And I've been on many of them, I'm sure you have, where somebody gets on somebody's nerves or somebody steps on somebody's territory. How do we deal with that?
You really just have to be open and upfront with each other. A lot of times, if I'm having an issue with an interior designer, I'm also a licensed interior designer, so I kind of understand. But if I'm having an issue, a lot of times I'll go meet with them and say, what are you after? What are you looking for? And how can we help you incorporate your vision in this as well? Mm-hmm. Again, it's the team quality of making sure that everybody works together. It's tough.
Sometimes. Sometimes it gets tough because everybody's got ideas. And everybody goes on Google and they go, and this happens to me all the time. I thought that was a great idea. Then I went on Google.
Well, and everybody's important in the process. I look at it like a symphony orchestra. The owner has bought and paid all the players, And everybody is important in creating that music. And the architect's the conductor, the builder is the violinist. Everybody plays a key role in creating that beautiful piece of music.
Do I have to be a violinist?
Well, you can be the bassoon player.
I'm more like bongos, dude.
Okay, bongo. Okay.
Well, no, I wouldn't put too much emphasis on the smarts of the builder.
Y'all are very talented people.
We are, and the thing about the building industry in general, and that includes all of us actually, is we're all very passionate people. We love what we do. We're all creative. We love, in my case, where I remodel homes, I love taking an old home and giving it life. Give it another 20 years, another 30 years, whatever. Some of them I've worked on for multiple generations of families. They keep calling me because I hide things in the walls, and they have to no.
I have signed studs. I have.
Well, anyway, I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank
it
you.
was really a lot of
one
fun.
of the things I was wanted to let the viewers know is I've got on my website, they can go to my website, I have a project planning pack that you can request and download to help answer a lot of those conceptual initial questions that you have of how do I do this?
Yeah. I mean, it's like baking a cake. Where do I start?
Where do you start?
And I think that's brilliant to have that. I think it's brilliant for people to use it. So take advantage of it. If you're thinking about hiring an architect, make sure and get your list together. Interview 2 or 3 people. Find somebody you communicate with well.
Correct.
And somebody you can afford. So I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
It was really a lot of fun.
It's good seeing you.
Okay, we'll do it again soon. Hey, if you're thinking about building or remodeling a home, if you need an addition, if you need a kitchen, bathroom remodel, whole house remodel, give me a call. It's Alex Guthrie Construction, www.alexguthrie.net. Give me a call at 469-446-8508. That's 469-446-8508. We do it all, and we've been doing it for many, many years. I really appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you, Matt, our engineer. Thank you, Thomas Edds. Thank you, Lloyd Lumpkins. And thank you, On Air Media, for hosting our show. You guys are fantastic. And next week, we're going to have a show on fortified building and residential elevators. It's going to be really a lot of fun and really informative. So I hope you have a great week. This is Alex Guthrie signing off.
You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle at Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn, and watch the show anytime on YouTube.